everyone. Namaste. As we've been doing the last couple evenings, we're going to come together sit for meditation again this evening, so I welcome you to find your way to the space. Seeing various individuals already hopping on. It's so beautiful to receive from each one of you messages of how this is really becoming part of your day and how you really feel that you're becoming connected to the Sangha in this way as well, that we can connect across time and across space. Also, namaste, namaste Jack, namaste Pam and Laura. Mine out, seeing various individuals hopping on. So let's just wait a couple moments so others can find their way as well, and so we can come together as one at this time. And maybe for those of you who are already on, already start to find a comfortable seated place, whether it's a chair or a cushion or your couch, somewhere where the body can be both comfortable but also at the same time the spine can be alert. Especially for those of you that this is evening time, so here in Canada or North America, this can be the time of the day where we have a little bit more tamasic energy, a little bit more of this energy that calls us towards sleep. So if that's the case for you, just find a comfortable position, but also find a position that's going to keep you alert and awake. It'll keep you in that softness and yet at the same time an alertness. Welcome everyone. Seeing various individuals hopping on. So happy to come together in this meaningful way. Good evening. Hello. It's just such an exploration for me as well to connect in this way, and something had the sense or the thought that there would be a certain lack of intimacy, maybe through the sphere of having these sadhana, these times of sit and of hatha yoga, etc., online. But I have to say that that thought has been released as such, really feeling into all of you in these last 3 days, and also hearing from many of you. I'm so inspired to know that we really can weave a fabric of togetherness, and that there's a great intimacy actually in coming together in this way. Seeing more and more individuals hopping on. Good evening everyone. Welcome. Hola, saludos, abrazos, Ecuador, Marlene, beautiful. Okay, so this evening we're going to continue as we did in these last 3 days with an awareness upon that which is always with us. So, an awareness upon the breath. So, an awareness upon the pulse of the breath, but more than that, an awareness not just on breath, but on the spaces between the breath. So, as I was mentioning in the last 2 days, there is something intimate to be known in those spaces. Intimate to be known in those sandhis, those turning points, as inhalation becomes exhalation and exhalation becomes inhalation. And as we start to settle deeper and deeper there, we're actually in many ways settling into a comfortability with the space that is always here, the space of beingness. There's so much to be revealed experientially. I feel actually by saying much about it, I'm limiting or creating concept in the mind. Instead, I really welcome us in our time of sit to come in this attitude of vichara, to come in an attitude of inquiry. So to really empty out of any concept of what it is that we're doing or not doing in sitting here together or with ourselves, and instead just being in an experiential knowingness, this exploration and allowing the moment to reveal as it will. So allowing the moment to reveal as it does. And so this evening, before we come into our silent sit together, I'd like to read to you from a couple offerings, a couple texts that really truly invite us into an awareness of this great timeless space. So you might already choose to find a seated position and to come to close the eyes, just really to allow awareness to come to the inner landscape. And as I read these, to really allow the words to settle in deep there. The first offering that I'd like to read to you is from the Song of the Avadut, or the Avadutta Gita. This is just one translation. I actually showed you a different one another morning. And so this was said to be written by the great Rishi Dattatreya. And its various stanzas really just on the awareness of oneness, of non-dual recognition that all is one. So let's come to settle into receiving the gift of these words. I am a house that's empty. What may I say of that? I do everything and yet I do nothing. What may I say of that? I'm always in the even state. I'm the formless self. I'm nectarian knowledge, unchanging bliss. I'm everywhere, like space. I am a house that's empty. What may I say of that? I do everything and yet I do nothing. What may I say of that? I'm always in the even state. I'm the formless self. I'm nectarian knowledge, unchanging bliss. I'm everywhere, like space. And so as we were pointing towards this morning, these gaps in the breath, these spaces, these pauses that are intimately known in the turning tides of the breath, welcome us into this recognition of everything and nothing, of this even state, suspension in evenness, in eventide. Just as the Avadutta Gita is offering, in this is known the bliss of being, the bliss of the self. And one more offering this evening before we come to experientially know this. And this one comes from Sri Muji Baba. So in the lineage of Ramana Maharishi, and in the lineage truly that I would say in many ways I feel very blessed to be a part of and for it to have touched my life. Today, Muji is a living saint who offers the gifts of Advaita, of non-dual recognition. And so he offers the following. Sometimes grace calls you to emptiness, but you tie a rope around your waist, fastened to the apparent known. So just in case emptiness feels threatening, you can quickly pull yourself back to the familiar. Then you thank God for the rescue. Sometimes grace calls you to emptiness, but you tie a rope around your waist, fastened to the apparent known. So just in case emptiness feels threatening, you can quickly pull yourself back to the familiar, and then you thank God for this rescue. This in many ways is what the end of each breath is calling us towards. It's calling us to the grace of emptiness, to being emptied out of thought, being emptied out of conditioning, being emptied out of old tired patterns, and ultimately being emptied out of suffering. You know, sometimes when we use this word suffering, we think that it needs to be something big, something fast, something hardened. But all the small ways, even, that when we cling to old patterning, when we cling to conditioning, that life becomes a task. So in every single breath, actually, we're called to that grace of being empty. As inhalation stops for a moment, there's a suspension. And as exhalation especially empties and offers to eternity, again, we're empty. And as we come to intimately know that more and more, there's a comfortability with the emptiness of being. There's more of a comfortability with residing less as a person with all of our dramas and our stories. And there's much less of us that is yearning to stay fixed and identified with all of that story making and really all of the movie making, the drama of what it is to be a person. Somehow it becomes seductive. To some level, there is a seduction to our hypnosis as personhood, our hypnosis in the drama of our lives. There's a certain self-importance and almost a masochism that occurs in our own suffering. So in a meditation such as this samudra meditation, this technique in which we bring awareness to those spaces, those pauses, the sandhis between the breath, we're really calling to emptying out, to letting go into the freedom that we are, and becoming wholly intimate with that emptiness. So this is again the invitation for this evening, as we've been doing the last couple days. And I welcome you again to find any comfortable position, to find that relative comfort in which the body can reside in stillness and the body can reside in ease. So finding any way that we can come to be still and easeful. And then come to close the eyes. So let the eyes gently close. Let it not be an obligation. Let the eyes feel soft. And then gently allow the chin to slightly drop. This gesturing is not a necessity. However, notice what it does as the body becomes still, as the eyes soften. And let that softening sense of relaxation enter right from the top of the head, flushing down through the body. It truly is a feeling of emptying out. Emptying out of the physical memory of being somebody, the physical memory of all of the held conditioning, history, condensed in the body. Let it all relax and soften out. And then gently allow the attention to turn towards the breath. The incoming, the outgoing, let there be this effortlessness to the breath, not trying to change it in one way or another. No resistance to this easeful flow as life takes care of itself. Inhalation, fullness, exhalation, emptiness. And if you notice that in any way the attention still seems to be drawn up into thought, into the mind in this moment. Deepen the breath just slightly. Don't make it something to be done, but let the breath relax down into the belly. Soften the area of the belly below the navel and let breath enter deeply. And already maintain this commitment to stay with life now as breath. Feel the truth of the breath, the recognition by just being here in and as breath, that there is this revelatory knowing that this moment is all that exists. Life, here, now. And then slowly allow the attention to deepen into those pauses, into the turning points after inhalation and after exhalation. Let there be this attitude of inquiry, wonderment, as we come to savor those spaces between. And enjoy the suspension of hanging in timeless space. Even as we reside there, the spaces may be widening, elongating, these pregnant pauses, getting lost in the space that is as it reveals our true nature. Allow there to be a comfort with the emptiness. Even if at times you feel a gripping, almost a fear of the diving into the unknown. Let there be a gentle softening in the comfort that can be found here in this spacious vastness. Feel its invitation, its calling home. And if at any moment you notice that the attention has become caught in thought, that there's been a hypnosis to identification with thought streams, then simply allow the attention to dwell upon what is truly here, upon the present moment, the breath and the space between. Let there be this continuity of commitment to stay to what is true. Coming back anytime you notice this hypnosis of moving up into thought or story, you simply return. allowing another full breath or two to be felt, and noticing the seatedness. Are you seated as thought? Are you ruminating in the identification with the mind? Or are you resting as you are? No requirement to be as you are. These last few breaths truly relinquishing to what is. No efforting, rather a surrender to the home of beingness. Now continuing to reside in that truth of silence. Can gently allow the body to start to move, but even though there's movement or activity, the silence remains untouched. Nothing needs to get loud or noisy here. Instead, even if there's movement, even if we raise up from this sit and move towards more of an active or dynamic completion of our evening or movement into our day, that all pervasive knowing, tasting, seatedness as silence remains. And then slowly in your own time, allow the eyes also to open. And as the eyes open, in the same way, the silence remains. There's no one to be caught or distracted, hypnotized by phenomena. All of life is seen and received, and yet there's this neutrality, silent presence. I welcome any of you, as I said this morning, to send in any questions that may be there for you, or any yearnings for the Hatha Yoga practice or for the meditations. Really, as I've mentioned a few times, but I'll say it again for those who are new on the call at this moment, these have really been guided by your requests. So let it be fulfillment of the request of life through you. If there's anything in particular that you are really yearning to have an intention around with the Hatha Yoga practice or with the meditations, with the sits, then please let me know so that Dharma can truly flow and be of service to each and every one of you. That's the hope and the intention here. I hope that each and every one of you has a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, or a beautiful sleep if you're here like myself in North America. that this residing silence and peacefulness carries us into the rest of our day, but also off into restfulness and to sleep. And for those of you, I saw one question about the first text that I was reading from. Just as a reminder, it's called the Song of the Avadut, or the Avaduta Gita. There are various translations, so I definitely suggest having this preciousness, these sutras, the preciousness of this beautiful and inspiring words of recognition in your heart and in your home also. So it's called the Song of the Avadut. Maybe just as we conclude, I'll read one last time from the sutra that we started with. I am a house that's empty. What may I say of that? I do everything, and yet I do nothing. What may I say of that? I'm always in the even state. I'm the formless self. I'm nectarian knowledge, unchanging bliss. I'm everywhere like space. May we all come to recognize this, a true recognition that we are a house that's empty, unchanging bliss, space. Blessings to each and every one of you, wherever you are. Namaste. Have a beautiful day and evening. And tomorrow we are again together at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, both on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, from 7 to 7:30 Ayurvedic Dinacharya inspiration, 7:30 until 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time meditation, and 8 to 9 a.m. Vichara Yoga, classical Hatha Yoga in the light of inquiry. And then again the evening meditation. So I welcome you all, wherever you are in the world, to join me. And otherwise, you can find the recordings of these on YouTube and also on Facebook and on the Instagram story. Okay, have a beautiful evening, everyone. Namaste.